the Rebbe's boy, the leader of the Hasid group, is the Rebbe wants to teach him how to. Has anyone got any water they can, let me put in my palm? Here, I'll put it in my palm. I won't drink out of your cup. I need something to see if it works. Looks all right. My kids think I'm funny too, so. All right, try one of those guys. Take the paper off me. Okay? Hey, thanks a lot, kid. Oh, I'm not. Your hands don't work. So, hey, that's a cough drop, man. You're gonna knock me over with that. Anyway, the leader of the sect, the Rebbe, he wants to teach his son, who's they consider to be a genius, how to be a real leader. And to do so, he has to, he thinks, make him suffer somewhat. And what he does is he imposes upon him a regimen of silence. That is, he will not talk to his son at all. The son can talk to anyone else, but the dad won't talk to him. He'll allow him to be in his classes and stuff like that, but he basically imposes a regimen of silence on him in order to teach him, for some odd reason, some sort of suffering thing. So he uses the other boy to communicate with his son. In other words, the non-Hasidic boy who can be involved in these things, the Rebbe becomes friends with. In the meantime, the other boy's father, who's a very secular sort of Jewish person and very Zionist, and this is the time of the end of the war. They learn about the concentration camps and the people who were burned to death, and 6 million or so people who were destroyed, incinerated, million children, and so on. And of course, this is overwhelming disaster. But at the same time, the struggle is going on between the Arabs and the Israelis, who haven't become yet Israel, it's Palestine, for the creation of this modern Jewish state that everyone hears so much about these days, and that is all for that, whereas the Orthodox guy is all against it, the Hasid guy, because they have a different doctrine. They believe that you shouldn't do anything until the Messiah comes. It's something a little bit like Christians believe, I think. So he doesn't think you should do anything until the Messiah does it all for you. So it's a huge struggle between them over that issue. And so there's all these struggles going on, but the less religious boy, his father goes to the library a lot. And he meets the Rebbe's son who goes to the library also a lot, and he starts feeding him books, helping him find out books, because he's a very precocious guy. And in the end, he starts giving him things like Freud, psychoanalysis, and things to read in the library. So one father is helping the one boy or using the one boy in one way, the other father is using the other person's son in another way. It's a very interesting quadrangle that is set up. It's really a very moving story. But I think the thing that comes through most of all, I've told you half of the story of the novel now, so you can really get through it yourself pretty quickly. The thing that comes through most of all in the novels, and it's an easy read, I think, and it's a fun read, is the love of fathers for sons. And this is true of the culture that they come from. The extreme tenderness that you feel for fathers. And I think, in myself, for instance, in my background, I have more tenderness for my father than for my mother even. I don't think I ever was touched by my mother particularly, but my father would certainly touch me. I don't touch my sons, so, or my daughter for that matter, so I can't speak about those things. I'm not into the touchy-feely stuff. It's embarrassing to me as a person, but in any case, you have to decide for yourselves how you want to respond. But one thing I think you will respond to is tremendous tenderness and love of fathers for sons. Now, in a lot of cultures, that's missing. A lot of cultures think fathers should beat sons up and toughen them up or something like that, or whack them around. And then what happens when these kids get whacked around by their fathers, or they see their fathers beating up their mothers or something like that, then they start doing the same thing. Not only do they get beat up by their fathers or whacked quite a bit by their fathers, but then they go to the school ground and start whacking other kids. And I've noticed that just almost every bully in the school ground, you'll usually find out, has been beat by his own father. Because that's why you can become a bully. Because he's used to physical pain. He knows what physical pain is about because he's experienced it either from his older brothers or people in his own house. And therefore he can go out and inflict it on other people. And I think you'll find, I'm not a psychoanalyst, but that's true. So maybe you guys don't agree, I don't know if you agree or not, but I think bullying on the school ground is a serious problem. And I think you'll always find it, you can trace it right back to the home if you go back there. That's where it'll inevitably come from. And I'll say that a lot of people, I think, cultural groups would have a lot to learn from this tenderness of father to sons, because most fathers, as I think I said, have an inability to express tenderness to their children, or accept responsibility often for their children in a complete way. Now, I know Asian Americans don't have this issue so much. I think that in those environments, fathers are very dutiful, actually, and do accept responsibility totally for their family offspring as part of the Asian, Eastern, Pacific Rim culture. Now, I'm generalizing here. There's always exceptions, I'm sure, to everything, and so on. But so they will, I think, identify to some extent more than others. I think Japanese groups, people from Chinese background. I can't speak so much about Southeast Asia, maybe India and so on. We'll find this scenario in the Jewish cultural framework more familiar than others might, and would be able to more readily identify with it. But I think any group would find something to learn from this exquisite tenderness that you see, whether you agree with the fathers or not, that the fathers feel for their sons and show towards their sons. Say, well, what about the daughters? What about the daughters? Well, daughters haven't entered.